All right, guys, I've had this on my heart for quite some time now. I've been delaying doing a video about it, but it's about free speech. So I thought I would raise my voice and exercise my free speech in doing this video. So, it's interesting as of late. We've had this whole cancel culture that's been operating for a really long time. I've really disliked cancel culture. It just doesn't sit right well with me. It goes against everything I believe about freedom of speech. But it's interesting because we've had this argument on the left, sort of, on one side of the argument, and then the right has been the other side, and now it seems like it's switching the arguments around free speech. So I don't necessarily want to get into the who, because I think it's more important to talk about the what before we talk about the who. So what is free speech? How do we steward our speech, especially coming from a Christian's perspective like I do? The Bible does talk about things like this, and freedom of speech is essential to our liberties, and it's in our Bill of Rights for a reason, because it is really what all other rights stem from. And so I really just, it's important that we bear with one another's speech, even if it's speech that we don't like. And so this whole thing of we have to eradicate hate speech, that is scary to me, because if you try to eradicate hate, quote unquote, you also eradicate love, because it's a choice. It comes from people's hearts. You can't police what's in people's hearts. So that being said, there are consequences to our speech, and we know that biblically, as if for Christians, we can't just do whatever we want with our mouths and think everything's going to be okay. And so what I want to propose, I think it's important that we maintain freedom of speech and allow people to be wrong, allow people to have hate. And there's a certain thing where we have to bear with everyone. I know the Bible talks about how all things are permissible, but not everything is beneficial. And that's kind of the situation we have here with freedom of speech. Not everything people are saying is going to be beneficial, but it has to remain permissible. So that doesn't mean that there's no consequence for people's actions. That doesn't mean that private companies can't do what they want in response to that. That doesn't mean that consumers can't make choices based on the things that people say. So, in a sense, in our cancel culture, if you will, people will cancel you if they will walk away, and that's the freedom that we have in America, to associate with who we want to associate with. At the same time, what I want to propose in the way that you live from day to day is not just freedom, but liberty of speech. And liberty, the difference between freedom and liberty: freedom is just the freedom to do what you want. Liberty is the freedom to do what is right and what is good. And liberty is the thing that really sets people free. And because it aligns with truth. And so, if you want to be prosperous, if you want to live at peace with others, you want to steward your speech in a way that brings liberty. And you want to raise your voice for those who maybe can't raise their voices. And so I'm trying to do my part right now in lifting my voice. And what I want to encourage you to do, whether you are on the right or the left, is I want you to take a good look at how you're treating the other side. Are you measuring with the same measuring stick? Like, as far as freedom of speech goes, are you measuring and using the same guidelines that you would for your side as you're using for the other side? Or can you admit that maybe you've been a little bit biased? That maybe, you cared about free speech when it was about this person, but you didn't when it was about this person. And are you going to apply the same rules to everyone? That's what we really need to talk about. It's more about the what than it is about the who. And if we can't come together on the what, our toxic tribalism is going to eat us. And it's just going to be this side against that side. And I'm really tired of that, honestly. I want to see us talk about, okay, where are reasonable lines for freedom of speech? And what does that look like in everyday society? How can we use the same measuring stick that we do for the people we agree with and the people we disagree with? I want to know your thoughts, so let me know in the comments. Thanks.